Forget Witherspoon's pick 6. Everything else he did on the field was just elite. He looks like, well, I'm going to be saying Jalen who after this week.
Jalen Carter is what you mean.
Yeah, Jalen who.
Jalen who? Fuck that guy. Devin Witherspoon it is. At one point in the game, with Damian Lewis going down, Evan Brown being out for possession, the Seahawks had 5 out of 5 backup offensive linemen. Yet, they had a backup quarterback as well at some point with Drew Lock coming in. No matter what happens, the Seahawks find a way. I think, George, it's a testament to the coaching staff, this organization. They always have players ready to play, no matter whose turn it is.
Yeah, just that next man up mentality by the Seattle Seahawks. You got to love it.
Next man up! You're listening to the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast. I'm Sammy, and with me, as always, is my older brother, George.
Your favorite place to be a fan of Seattle sports. Now let's get this party started.
Tito, are you ready? Are you ready? You ready?
All right, George. Well, here's the thing.
Tell me.
A Monday night's football game. I'm a little tipsy.
Are you ready for Monday night?
I am, and I'm not our sponsor, but one more White Claw.
And I got a Pure Aqua from, I think this is from Fry's. It's sparkling water to match my shirt.
Fries, like Safeway.
Yeah.
Cheers. All right. Monday Night Football win. The Seattle Seahawks, George. This is the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast, as always, brought to you by @Seattle on Tap on all platforms. As always, I'm little brother Sammy on tap.
I'm big brother George on tap.
Or George. Or Sammy. Whatever your real names are. And we're talking the Monday Night Football victory at my desk against the New York Giants. The New York Football Giants. And if those are wondering why George is recording my face, if you're on YouTube, it is because we make content on social media, and this is the content. For the YouTube listeners, on the YouTube listeners, you'd probably understand because you see this every episode. To all 1,000 of you that tune into every episode on YouTube, you probably see this. For those listening on the podcast, you might not see that. So go to youtube.com/@SeattleOnTap to see that. We beat the Giants, George. I thought it was going to be a definitive win. I didn't think it'd be 24-3. It's 24 or 27?
24-3.
I didn't think it was going to be 24-3, not because I didn't think we'd dominate. I thought they would at least score a touchdown today.
Well, they almost did. And then the man of a day, the man of an hour, Witherspoon, of course, gets a pick 6 and thrashes any hope of a Giants ever getting a touchdown, really. That was their best opportunity.
We'll talk about Devin Witherspoon a lot right now because at the end of the day, we did come out with new shirts, sonshop.com, SONTshop.com, which we'll get to at the middle of the video or the podcast. But the Spoon shirts are sick, and Devin Witherspoon's sick. We all spent the first 2 weeks when Witherspoon was hurt. He had an average game 2, I think it was, against the Lions. Everyone spent a lot of time talking about Jalen Carter.
Who?
And who the fuck's that guy?
Who's that guy?
Fun fact, with Devin Witherspoon's 2 sacks today, with his pick 6, whatever, all of it. One fun fact is that he has more sacks than Jalen Carter already. Number 2 is the guy literally, like, I'm gonna say this lightly because I'm not trying to overreact, but we saw Tariq Woolen last year, okay, and he was like him and Sauce Gardner were going back to back to be like top 5 corners, not just top 5 rookies, top 5 corners in the league. Mm-hmm. Devin Witherspoon right now, this early, is making more of a statement than Tariq Woolen did last year. Like, Devin Witherspoon, last game against the Panthers, showed up big. Like, with Woolen out, he was making huge plays. And then today, pick 6, 2 sacks, like every other play, a giant tackle. He is
no pun intended.
Yeah, he's looking like a generational talent.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't know what the Rookie of the Year odds are in general right now, but man, Devin Witherspoon might have overtaken Jalen Carter in the Defensive Rookie of the Year odds. I mean, I don't know what they're going to be. They'll probably come out tomorrow morning, but it would be no surprise to me if Vegas has him the favorite to win Rookie of the Year after this performance on primetime.
Yeah, it was unreal. I mean, at the end of the day, the guy, like I said, 2 sacks, a pick 6 to essentially seal the game. He looked unreal. And I think one thing that's interesting is he's had to move around due to injury.
Yeah,
right?
he played slot today.
Yeah, like the guy's not just going out there doing exactly what he was brought in to do. He's given an opportunity to take a different cornerback position, and he's been dominating. I think, George, that's where the big key is. There's a beauty in seeing your like 5th pick in the draft play well, but there's a difference when like outside of those like Jamal Adams, which we'll get to in a second, but the Jamal Adams like 2 big hits to start the game. A lot of the game, yeah, there was 10 sacks or 11 sacks. You saw some Bobby Wagner, this and this, but like most of the biggest plays of the game where I was like, oh my God, this is happening, was Devon Witherspoon. And it wasn't just good play, excellent play.
So here's the thing with Devon Witherspoon's performance tonight, and a lot of people, you see rookies, you see players in the NFL will have a bad game. They'll have a pick 6. They might have a sack here and there. But he played almost a flawless game overall. It wasn't just take out the pick 6. He still played a hell of a game. Like, it wasn't just the pick 6 and the big explosive plays. Like, overall, the guy was just dominant the whole entire game. And that's what you want to see, right? Because pick 6s, they're random.
They could be like a flash in the pan, right? Like,
right.
You could be Malcolm Smith, the Super Bowl MVP for the Seahawks. He was never a generational talent. He had pick 6 in the Super Bowl.
Like, the pick 6 is great. Don't get me wrong. I think, a lot of people are going to come out talking about the pick 6 after Devon Witherspoon did it, rightfully so. And his return, even the return was great. The way he ran, the way he, waited for the block at the end of a play to finally get into the end zone. But that's not what I really want to focus on. It's just everything he did, right? If you take away that pick 6, he's still probably graded as an A+ in that game.
Yeah, George, that's actually a great point. Yeah. It's not just about the flash plays. It's about, like you said, and actually,
he might never have another sack this year.
I was going to add to that. You were talking about the pick 6. You didn't even mention the sack, so you just said that. The 2 sacks and the pick 6 are just bonuses on top of the fact that he has been a phenomenal corner. Now, I feel like when we talk about a corner, the sacks and the pick 6s are just bonuses, right?
Right.
When you really talk about a corner, we're talking about, is he locked down? Is he making plays on the ball? Is he making big hits when you need to save a first down or something? He's doing all of that with the addition of the the prizes that we can get, which is, wow, a pick 6. Oh my gosh, 2 sacks for a corner. So we're getting all of that on top of the excellent cornerback play. And that's where I think it's just phenomenal to see him. And, I want to issue a statement and apologize to Devon Witherspoon, because for the first 2 weeks I was definitely bitching about Jalen Carter.
Yeah,
I was. Let's just be real. Yeah, we were wrong.
I was like, we can't even sack anyone. We can't get no pressure on the quarterback. And then we ended up with 11 sacks today, 10, 11.
Yes, we've been talking about Devon Witherspoon a lot. And as you know, for every YouTube video, every podcast we do, we have one sponsorship, and it's our own business. It's the Sports on Tap shop. You can find everything at SONTshop.com. SONT shop.com. And George, we just came out with spoon shirts because Devon Witherspoon is him.
You got to buy these shirts and you got to eat with them. Always eat out of a spoon.
We got a lot of sales on the blue masks. We also have the blue ski mask shirts. We got the Let's Fucking Go Mariners shirts, which a lot of people will be probably pessimistic about now because we're out of the postseason. But we have all of them. Please log into SONTshop.com to help support us. And if you do not have the money to buy something, or if you don't like anything right now, log into the email. You'll see email box right here on the screen, or if you're listening on audio, you'll just go to the site and you'll see it. You can log in there and you'll be entered for our giveaways moving forward every week.
Yeah, you don't want to miss those. Free stuff's always fun.
I love free stuff. Back to the video. Yeah, we had Draymond Jones got a sack, which is humongous considering he's like our 5th highest player. He was a huge offseason signing. Bobby Wagner got 2. Nwasu got 1, Uchenna Nwasu, and Devon Witherspoon with 2. There was just playmakers all around. Now, let's get past the Devon Witherspoon stuff. And before I get into the rest of the stuff, I want to talk about Jamal Adams really quick. It's almost predictable that he was going to come in. I'm not laughing out of meanness. It's just fuck.
You're laughing out of frustration.
Frustration, not just as a fan, but for him. He was livid on the sidelines with the neurosurgeon guy, the concussion protocol guys, the red hat ones, because he felt like he was good to go back in the game, which
he probably wasn't. I mean, you saw him woozy on the play. Like,
there's a
it's
big
not
difference of hitting your head and being okay when you get up versus the way he wobbled off.
Good. Right.
I'm sure he felt fine at that moment when he was saying, like, I want to go back in, but not considering the repercussions of going back in. We saw, knock on wood, I never want this to happen to anyone. We saw Tua last year when he would go back in off of some head injuries that were questionable. Let's not say definitive, questionable. Maybe Jamal Adams was questionable because he was yelling about it, right? We've seen a lot of guys like Tua where it just continues to happen. And that's a harm to your health in your life, not just football. So I understand why they don't let him back in.
And you got to protect the player and protect your staff too. Like, I know it sounds bad, protect your staff, but you cannot put him back in on a Monday night with the whole entire nation watching.
I have to put a add on to what you just said because it's not the staff. And Pete Carroll came out after the game. It was 10 seconds before we pressed record. I read it. Brady Henderson, ESPN, posted. Pete Carroll said Jamal really wanted to go in, but the outside specialist didn't let him.
Yep.
So he said it's out of our hands as team doctors. If they approved him, it doesn't matter if the specialist said no. So at the end of the day, it sounds like, from my understanding, that he was pretty much approved to go back in by the team. But then again, it's not a neuroscientist on the team, right?
Exactly.
It's not a brain doctor. The brain doctor said no. So you're right. At the same time, when you say protect the staff, that includes the NFL staff, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you
like,
can't just do it. It's on a, even if it's a Sunday game. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they put it in, but even just putting on a Monday night primetime game makes it even less likely to like put him back in. You're not going to do that on national TV. Feel bad for the guy. Good news. It looks like he was fine. He wanted to come back in. Another good news. We have a bye week next week. It's not I guess it's not good news. Head injuries are never good news, but there's not something that's going to keep him out 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah, I mean, I will add this. We spoke mostly negatives. His first drive, he looked like 25-year-old Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's not what I expected. I expected him to make a couple plays because the Seahawks, with Julian Love available and Quandre Diggs, I knew the fact that the Seahawks have enough safeties, right? Like,
Absolutely.
they have enough to play a strong safety and a free safety and we'll be all right. And I knew they would put him in blitz in different situations. He was immediately put in those situations. He almost had a sack on Daniel Jones, and he looked fast. Like, the one guy I noticed on the screen was Jamal Adams. Like,
The whole game.
yeah, like the whole first 3 minutes.
You know what I mean? The whole drive.
Yeah, the whole drive with Jamal Adams. He made a tackle and then made a big hit on a player. And the last play he made on Daniel Jones, it was awkward because it seemed like he tripped and like.
Yeah, he tripped and the knee hit his, like, that's just
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
But the one thing about him in the whole drive, we got a little bit of the first drive, we got a little bit of taste of how he's going to be used. And that's exciting as a Seahawks.
And if he stays healthy outside of freak accidents like a concussion and doesn't, like I said, knock on wood, doesn't get the type of injuries that we've been accustomed to seeing, unfortunately, which, I mean, the most respect possible. We've been accustomed to seeing him shoulder injury, quad tear, different
knees.
things. Yeah. If he can stay healthy from those, it looks like he could be a game changer for this defense. On top of a defense that's already the last 2 weeks. Last week we had pressure on the quarterback for the first time. At the first 2 games we didn't.
Yeah.
We had pressure on the quarterback last week, and then we tripled down on it this week with those 11 sacks.
Yeah, I mean, we did also play the Panthers and the Giants, who look like they might be the two most inept offenses in the NFL. That does help.
George.
But still happy.
George.
Yeah.
Let me be optimistic, man.
I know, but I just want to make sure, we don't just seem like 110% homers, which we are, and kind of.
George, we are the best defense in football, right?
We have the most talent, and we might have the most talented secondary in football.
And on top of that, you have Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks, which is no
joke.
Yeah, no joke of a defensive. But I know you're right. We're not. I mean, even considering the Lions are known to give up a lot of points. We scored 37 on them. The defense still allowed points against the Lions, so it wasn't like the defense was super duper locked down against Lions. Exactly. But overall, my point is, if I told you the defense was going to look like this to start the year, it would probably have been a overachievement by week 4.
Absolutely.
With the injuries that we had to start the year, too.
Yeah, and the fire Pete Carroll, and we need a new entire.
And Clint Hurt.
And I saw a tweet, and every Seahawks fan probably knows this watching, by Evan Hill, right?
No offense, Evan.
No,
I
no,
actually
but-
like the guy.
Yeah. I think he does it for a lot of clicks. No offense, dude. Do your thing. Keep at it. No, what they say? No shame in the game. But after week 1, he said we need to what was it? Like reimagine the whole entire trajectory of this organization and reevaluate it. Overreaction central week 1. That's why I don't always take week 1 as gospel.
I agree. But I like Evan Hill. So
Yeah, I have no
I'm just
problem
saying.
with the guy. I'm just saying.
But he does love his overreactions. So do I. So do all of us on Twitter
Oh,
because the overreaction helps. But
I called the Seattle Mariners need to become a serious organization and that we should boycott going to games next year. If anyone knows how to overreact a little bit, it's me. So no shame in the game, I'm telling you. But I just wanted to mention we do not need to look at the trajectory of this organization.
yeah, because I'm just not trying to make enemies in this game.
No, there's no
But-
enemies. No
but-
enemies.
But every year when there's a game lost, it goes straight to Pete Carroll, 72. He's old as shit. He can't coach anymore. He can't figure it out. He doesn't know how to set up his defense. And it always works out. And now we're 3-1, George. Looking forward to, which we're not going to talk about it yet. We have 14 days, in fact, 13 days to our next game.
Yep.
These next,
Browns next?
no, Bengals.
Bengals.
These next, we have a bye week next week. These next 2 weeks worth of podcasts is going to be a lot of evaluating the team, evaluating injuries, evaluating what's moving forward. But in the meantime, that's why I don't want to talk about it too much because we have way too much time to talk about the next 2 weeks. But all I'm saying is we're 3-1. We have a bye week. There's guys like Abraham Lucas, Charles Cross. There's guys like Devon Witherspoon who came off injury. There's guys like Tariq Woolen who didn't play last week, played this week, coming off injury. Jamal Adams got concussed. There's a lot of guys that can use the time off, and we're going 3-1, heading to a bye week, then heading to play the Bengals, who, when I looked at the schedule to start the year, I marked Bengals as a big fat L, a red L.
Yep.
Right now, if my humble opinion, it's a big fat green W because they have some issues of their own that's going on over there. So after this game, it's completely made my perspective like shift on the season. 3-1, bye week, getting healthy, and that all happened. 3-game winning streak changes everything. And the Rams team's not as bad as people thought. We've talked about that on every podcast.
Yep.
They're not as bad as people thought, and we're seeing that again. We beat the Lions, who, by the way, are one of the best teams in the NFL. That win in Lambeau, win in Arrowhead.
So much for the NFC being garbage and the AFC being so good, huh?
Yeah, it's like the opposite.
I know. One thing, speaking of injuries and stuff, we did have a big injury scare with Geno Smith, and I know he came back in.
Yeah,
but
that was going to be the next topic I brought up.
Oh, really? Okay, well, perfect. Let's bring it up now. I just wanted to say, glad he came back, but it was also very nice to see that Drew Lock looked like a formidable backup when he did come in and led us to a touchdown drive.
Drew Lock looked like a starter for a drive. To be honest, offense actually looked a little more alive with Drew Lock for that possession than it did with Geno Smith. Now, let's not overreact. I just mean that as in sometimes for the team even. They're not game planning.
And for the defense.
They're not. They're not game planning Drew Lock. And his one big play was to Noah Fant, who he was with in Denver.
Who broke a tackle and kind of did all of it.
Broke like 4 tackles and tiptoed inbounds, and he played with him in Denver. So I'm not saying like Drew Lock's better, but it is very encouraging to see a Drew Lock who is definitely a younger quarterback on a roster, and the only backup on a roster that if he needs to come in certain situations, if there's an injury or something of some sort, he is able to do it.
Exactly.
Pete Carroll also spoke on the Geno Smith hit, which he did mention that the way the guy pulled him down and fell on his knees very late in the play probably should have been called the flag. But at the end of the day, they're happy Geno's just healthy.
Exactly. I got a little scared when we went back into the locker room, but hey, we're good. Geno's good. We're good. Team's good. Win. We're now 6-0 at MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, we don't lose at MetLife.
And Metcalf did score a touchdown, so I guess we can call it Metcalf Stadium.
It is Metcalf Stadium. This is podcast number 2 in a row talking Metcalf Stadium.
It will never probably ever be said again until we actually go to Metcalf Stadium, MetLife Stadium ever again.
At the end of the day, the biggest thing is 3-1. Devon Witherspoon looks like the 5th pick in the draft. The offense is doing exactly what it needs to
Yep.
do every week, which is score touchdowns, enough touchdowns to win a game. And the biggest thing as a Seahawks fan right now is the fact that we have a bye week coming up.
Thank God.
There was one point in the game, George. Damian Lewis left on a cart, and Evan Brown was out for a possession that put Olusegun Oluwatumi in at center. That marked 5 out of 5 offensive linemen that didn't start the season playing in the offensive line. So we were out there with, like, because Phil Haynes got hurt, Damian Lewis got hurt, and then Evan Brown was out for a second. He came back in, I believe, I can't even recall right now.
Yeah.
There's just too much happened today. But there was a point where we were at 5 out of 5 backup offensive line. We still played good football.
But yeah, kudos to the backup offensive linemen. They came in and did their job.
Kudos to them for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay Curran and what's his name? Stone Forth. I can never say it. Stone Forth, whatever.
Forsyth. Like,
Forsyth.
yeah.
Forsyth. I think it's
Yeah.
Forsyth is the correct pronunciation. I told you, I'm a couple White Claws in. Stone Forsyth, Jay Curran, they were playing big. Olusegun Oluwatumi came in today. We had a lot of backups. Bradford came in today, the rookie. A lot of good things. And I have one more thing to say, George,
Tell me.
before we wrap up this podcast. The rookies are I hate to say this. I'm going to preface it with this, and we'll get to it at the end because we talked about it last week. Other than Jackson Smith and Jigba, there are a lot of good rookie play. We had a backup offensive lineman as a rookie come in. Zach Charbonnet's made a lot of plays this year. Devin Witherspoon's looking phenomenal. Was it Miles Adams? I think that, or was it Cameron Young? One of the two. One of the rookies got a sack in the game. The rookies, once again, that's 2 years in a row where Pete Carroll, John Schneider, and this organization has completely killed the draft. And this is what's interesting. I want to mention this because it's big. 2012 to 2014, we were like draft experts.
Right.
2014 till 2021, it was dud after dud after. And this is no offense to people like Darrell Taylor or whoever it may be, but just a lot of misses in the draft. These last 2 years with Boye Mafe and Bradford and Charbonnet and Witherspoon
And Woolen. Michael Jackson and Kobe Bryant, well, they haven't been as good, but like last year, they were great.
Jackson was not drafted by us. I'm just telling you. It's okay.
Was it just free agent?
Free agent.
Okay.
But Kobe Bryant was.
Yeah.
All those guys, great points is that they've been unstoppable in the draft. And it feels very 2012-esque that all these guys are absolutely dominating.
I love it. And that's huge.
Yeah.
That's how you win championships.
Couldn't be happier about it.
I know. This team's great.
Last question, George, for you. From what you're seeing, every week we've talked at the end of the podcast, readjusting our season predictions. So I want to end on this. Now, after what you've seen, where does this team stand?
I mean, anything short of 16-1 would be a disappointment, right?
There's no way we lose to the 49ers, right?
No, same prediction. Doesn't change. 11-6.
Well, it did
12.
change. You changed to 10-7 after week 1.
I did, yeah. But no, my beginning of a season prediction doesn't change. 11-6.
Okay, but sorry, it was after week 2. You said 1 win, 1 loss for 10-7.
I now think that like we can swing a Bengals win because the Bengals aren't that good. That was a loss, so now that'll be a win. It all evens out. I still think 11-6, like I thought before the season. I'm not down to 10-7 yet.
I'm gonna stick to 10-7, and the only reason is I think last week I stuck. I think after week 1 I moved down to the 9-8.
Yep.
I moved back up to 10-7. I'm still staying there, and the only reason behind that is I fucking hate to say it. We're most likely gonna split with San Francisco.
Yeah.
Just realistically, I mean, if there's any team we're gonna lose twice to, it would be San Francisco in the division.
They look like the best team in the NFL right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. But the way our defense is playing, you never know. I'm gonna guess a split with San Francisco potentially, and I'm gonna we have a Thanksgiving with San Francisco, and the week before that's a Thanksgiving in Dallas,
Right?
or not Thanksgiving, a Thursday in Dallas. We have the Eagles later on. There's gonna be a couple losses, and with the Seahawks, I know there's always a game like the Rams games, they might disappoint.
Right.
And most teams do that. I'm not saying that just about the Seahawks, but it could be just like a unfulfilling game. So I'm going to stick with 10-7, but I think that's going to put us in a good wild card spot because I just with the 49ers, 4-0 right now. I don't know if we're going to catch up to them.
No, well, you never know. Honestly,
one win against them if we win out until we play them.
It's not about being the best team in September. It's about being the best team at post-November, post-Thanksgiving.
We saw that with our Seattle Mariners. It's not about being the best team in August. It's about the best team being in September.
Let's not bring that up, man. Don't kill my vibe.
Actually, now that we have 2 weeks, I'll mention this. We have 2 weeks until the next Seahawks game. We are going to probably do a Seattle Mariners pod.
A eulogy, as they say.
Yeah. What does that mean? Like a death call? Yeah. Oh, fuck. Okay. Our
Death
sad
speech.
Seattle Mariners podcast coming soon. I think that's all we got.
Think so, man. But just really, fuck yeah.
Fuck it. It was fucking awesome.
3-1, baby.
Find us everywhere at Seattle on Tap, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it may be. Look in the bio and the links in the bio because that's where you'll find our Mariners page, our Seahawks page on Instagram, podcast, YouTube channels, our shop, all those things. And at the end of the day, you'll find us there too at Sammy on Tap, SAMI on Tap.
And George on Tap, how you spell George, not Jorge. George.
George.
Might see this face and think it's some kind of Latino. Not Latino.
Middle Eastern. Regardless, we love you. And the biggest thing we like to say to end every podcast is
Thanks for stopping by.
we'll see you guys next time. Go Hawks. 3-1.